Another question that I have is the imposter syndrome, because we've talked about it mostly in the workplace, but can you feel the imposter syndrome in your relationships, with your man or your guy, the guy that you're dating, and you feel like an imposter? I definitely want to speak on that, but I want to let somebody else go first on that one. And first of all, Dr. Patricia, is it valid? I mean, can you feel like an imposter in your relationships, in your personal relationships?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you've ever had thoughts like, he deserves better than me, or I'm not good enough for him, you could have it in your relationship. Or if you're constantly comparing yourselves to other people, or wondering, am I the right person for my partner, or feeling like you're not a good match, then you might start to look for signs from them that you're not good enough for them, and maybe overreact to things, and in a sense almost start to reinforce that by becoming maybe more needy or more standoffish. And so you can definitely experience it in relationships.
Okay, Queen Group, talk to me. Tell me about your moments that you felt like an imposter in a relationship.
So I'll start. I will, this is a conversation, again, that Dr. Leslie and I have had. And I think the first time I shared this with her, she was like, what? So I struggled with thinking that I'm pretty and thinking that I'm attractive.
And we all look at you and wonder why.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is something that I've struggled with. And so it has shown up in my relationships. And instead of me, wondering, is he good enough, or am I good enough for him? I shrink who I am to be accepted. I don't always share my thought or a concept or an idea or a challenge, or not even, I don't want to use the word challenge, but I'm not as communicative in my relationships as I am in my friendships, because I shrink.
Yes.
Because it stems back to, LaQuenta, are you pretty enough? Are you shapely enough? Are you the girl that's going to keep his attention? Are you going to meet and check all these boxes? And as I mentioned before, when I went through therapy for my divorce is when my therapist shared with me the imposter syndrome and how I was overcompensating in my relationship and holding him under accountable for his behavior in our relationship, and not getting my needs met. And if it hadn't been for therapy, those 3 free sessions that I got through EAP, I'm not joking, but if it hadn't been for the initial 3 free sessions that I got through EAP, I don't know that I would have been able to identify and cope with it as much as I have been able to.
Yeah.
I'll say that. So I feel like a lot of people, I come with like a perception. It's people who know me know of me, see certain things about me. You can Google me, you can read certain things about me. And I've often found myself, when I'm really dating somebody I like that's super accomplished, thinking, does he expect me to live up to this certain standard or this certain expectation, or does he have this perception or this thought? And there have been some people where I said, no, I think he may be thinking this, or he may be feeling this way, so I'll take a pass. So I've actually not dated some people because I felt like maybe their perception and what I feel like I bring don't align. I'm an imposter, so I'll take a pass on that. And I often wonder, as I think about some of my friends in their relationships, if they perhaps maybe date down or don't date a certain type of guy because they feel like, I'm an imposter, so I don't deserve this type of guy. I'll date this type of guy. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Dr. Leslie.
So I've been over here thinking, and Cube will probably nod her head at this, but the last relationship I was in, I dated younger, and if you put us side to side, most people would be like, why is she dating him? From MaLika's standpoint, probably dating down. And then since the relationship has been over and I looked at what it was and who he was, I do believe he was a narcissist. And I'm sure you can relate to that. And
Check.
so I thought about the whole time I was in the relationship, I felt like I was a fraud in that I wasn't being my authentic self.
Bingo.
Because I was making myself small. Like, I was trying not to rock the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was his personality type that I had never dealt with before, that I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yep.
And so I felt like, not that I wasn't deserving, I just couldn't be myself. And so when it was over, however it ended, which was not well, I felt this level of relief, even though I ended up in therapy over it. There was this level of relief that I need to be true to me.
Yes.
And so ultimately, looking back at it, I should have never even been in the relationship. But when I was in it, it was mind bending how I had made myself small when I think of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, that's exactly where I was going to go with my experiences of feeling like an imposter in a relationship, is moments where I wasn't being me. Mm-hmm. I wasn't saying what I really wanted to say. I held my opinions and my thoughts back. I didn't uphold my boundaries because I was trying to be what I thought this person wanted instead of being authentically who I am. And it took me a series of dating narcissists. I've dated covert, I've dated overt. Pray that you get an overt narcissist if you get one, because a covert will run you crazy. A covert, because it takes a while to see who they are because they're covert. And they're very crafty at what they do. But for me, I feel like in this area, I haven't struggled as much as I have in the workplace or the accomplishment piece, because I have learned through being in bad relationships that I'm going to be me. And I'm going to find out early whether you like Sharrona or you don't, because I'm coming to you with full Sharrona, and I can be a lot. So you need to be able to handle full Sharrona, because I need you to know on the front end, this is what you're going to get with me. And so I speak my mind. I say exactly how I feel. Like, for example, I've kind of, had this thing, I don't even know what you call it, with this particular guy. And, he's a former NFL player. And when I first met him, I was at a place where, professionally, I wasn't really happy with where I was. So I wasn't my full self with him because I didn't feel worthy of him. Because I'm like, here you are, an accomplished, NFL player. You've won a Super Bowl. Like, you're a head coach at the college level. Like, and here I am, I'm not even in my profession right now. I'm working in something else. I'm not really making the money that I was used to making. And so when I met him, I wasn't my full self, Sharrona. So as time has passed, he and I have stayed in touch over the years, and we spend time together. And so now when we see each other, he's like, you're totally different than when I first met you. And I had to explain to him, yeah, because when you first met me, and I kept it a buck. I was like, when you first met me, as you said, self-esteem wise, and to your point, you said something earlier, Dr. Leslie, about your worth or something. I can't remember the exact word you used, but my self-esteem wasn't at the best at that time because I didn't feel worthy to be talking to him because I wasn't on some level that I thought that would make, a difference to him. Like, she's not up here. And I'm like, I don't feel that way now. Like, this is me and this is who I am. And I make sure that I enter every relationship in my life being authentically me when it comes to men, because I'm like, you don't get this is what it is. And I'm not, not that I'm not willing to work with you, but I'm not coming in trying to be anything other than me, because what I remembered was the men who fell in love with me was when I was being my authentic self. The men when the relationships never worked out was when I was trying to be an imposter, someone that I thought that they wanted me to be. So moving forward, I have definitely come in as Sharrona. This is me, baby.
But I also think a piece of that comes down to age too. As I think about I remember having a conversation with my sister who was 10 years older than me, and she was always my guide. You know, she was like, when you turn 30, you're going to experience this. When you get in your 40s, you're going to be experiencing this. When you get in your 50s, it's going to be like, hell no, I don't care. Whatever.
I don't give a
Yeah.
Damn. Right? But I remember kind of that she was my navigation, right? And I think when I got into my 40s, I started to be less concerned and checking the box on your perception and his perception and their perception, and really more checking the box on LaQuenta.
Yeah.
Do you like who you are? Is this who you authentically are? And so the piece of advice I give to young ladies is know that your life's journey is going to be an evolution of who you are. And the things you were uncomfortable with in your 20s, you're going to settle into your 30s. You're going to grow in your 40s. And when you get to your 50s, you're going to be whatever, you know what I mean? It's going to be who you
Absolutely.
are. And that also shows up in your relationship. So it's funny to hear you say that. It's not funny to hear you say, but it's interesting to hear you say how you've shown up as Sharrona.
Yeah.
And that is probably one of the beautiful things about my 40s, my journey in my 40s is
Yeah.
settling into and loving who I am.
And then you realize that while I'm over here worrying if I'm good enough, let me start asking him some questions to find out if he's good enough. That's what we really need to be focusing on.